Good evening. My name is David Maloney. I'm from ICG, and this is the ICG Wants You webinar. Our agenda this evening is an introduction to this webinar and what we're trying to achieve. The agenda is really covering off why a senior consultant or experienced consultant from one of the branded firms or a successful boutique owner would want to join ICG. What is it about the ICG global platform that is disrupting the global consulting industry? We'll go through some materials around ICG and the progress that we're making. And then I'm really excited, but also delighted that a number of my most senior colleagues join me this evening. So you can hear their story about what it was about ICG that attracted them and how they've been using the ICG platform to better their consulting career. And of course, we'll have the opportunity for any of our participants to ask any questions of myself or the panelists. And of course, those of you who are watching or listening to this after the fact, you're welcome to contact your local hub and seek any guidance that we can assist you with. So with that, let me move on to an introduction to who's on the call tonight. And we'll be asking each of our panelists to introduce themselves more fully. But you're hearing from me on the right, David Maloney. I was a co-founder of ICG, have been around for 5 years. I work out of the Sydney hub, but I cover financial service clients around the globe. And tonight we're joined by Jerry Purcell from our Toronto hub, Michael Roche from our Zurich and London hub, and Mike Trovato from our Melbourne hub. So a very warm welcome to you, gentlemen. Why is ICG disrupting the global consulting industry? Well, we're doing it with the leading proposition to ex-consultants. And this proposition consists of the following. Firstly, we allow you to grow beyond your current reputational and relationship spheres. And literally every day, including today, opportunities arise for me because I have the potential to monetize resources and relationships in a way that simply wouldn't be available to me if I were a mere boutique owner. I also get the opportunity to expand beyond my current specialization and geographic boundaries. Somewhat extraordinarily, I sell work in London and Toronto and Singapore, even though I live in Sydney. And I also sell work which relates to spheres and industry sectors which have little relation to financial services. This is because I'm joined by colleagues who have incredibly deep expertise in those areas, and they're in high demand. And my contacts and secondary contacts are seeking that type of expertise, and they come to the ICG platform as a way of reducing their search costs. And fortunately, because they're my contacts or secondary contacts, they come via me, and then I get to monetize that activity in a way that, again, is simply not accessible to me if I were running a boutique. I also get to add power to my own brand. David Maloney is just David Maloney. And when I'm a member of a global network of now over 4,000 people around the globe, and I am a team member with people of the caliber that you're going to meet on this webinar, you'll get a very quick sense of why our clients see us as a global consulting firm, not as a boutique of David and his mates. And so I think, when you hear the interviews later, you'll get a very real sense of why our clients are taking us that seriously and why we are significantly differentiated from any local boutiques that our clients talk to. You also get to scale with less risk. We don't own the clients. Our contracts ensure that you own the clients, you manage the client protocols, but we just help by providing resources to allow you to execute and monetize resources that are associated with your client's projects. But you control the process, you control the curation, you control the client interface, as little or as much as you would like. So the level of risk in ICG, given that we're a global firm with no debt, no external equity, and we use the world's leading, in our view, principal agent legal and economic contracts to prosecute all of these projects across multiple currencies, multiple geographies, I think you'll get a sense that you couldn't possibly achieve that as a boutique. We get deeper client engagement and stickiness. We get deeper engagement because you can sell them more things. You get stickiness because we've sold them more things, because they're dealing with a global firm with serious resources. You also get to protect your client from top tiers, because if you're not going to sell them that other project that they're talking to you about, then they're going to go to PwC or McKinsey, and then PwC and McKinsey are going to do whatever they can to displace you. You also get to export your owned IP. So I have intellectual property and methodologies which are now being used and sold by my colleagues around the globe. And I get paid for that automatically through the ICG platform, as will you if your IP is attractive enough to be sold by your new colleagues around the globe. You also get passive income through BAFs. So when I sell a resource, I typically run a BAF to find the best resources on the platform. And when those BAFs winners start work, I get paid. And I get paid for as long as they're at that client. And my longest client BAF professional is now just over 4 years at the same client. And I'm still getting a percentage of the revenue which is generated by that great professional. You can also get equity participation as we're owned by ourselves. ICG is totally owned by ICG participants, and you get incredible collegiality and camaraderie, and you'll get just a taste of how that's playing out tonight. I want to not go through this slide in detail, but just highlight to you that ICG is a very different kind of disruptor. We offer the agility, efficiency, and scalability of a marketplace platform, but with the capabilities normally associated with the leading international consulting firm. So the leading consulting firms do very well, but so do we. But also marketplace platforms are now starting to emerge. And these are more commoditized labor resellers. And of course, you're familiar with the freelancer platforms. And ICG does that too. So with ICG, you get the best of both worlds. This approach has helped us win over 60 corporate clients in Australia and another 40 in other regions already, just in a small number of years. And we're often winning them from leading global consulting firms. In 5 years, we've expanded into 8 countries, and we are owned only by participants. So you'll get a sense of our geographic spread, and you'll get to talk to some of my colleagues overseas that have led and engineered some of this great geographic expansion. This rapid organic growth has been enabled by our unique platform. So we're a platform-based business model, and that business model attracts clients, highly experienced consultants and experts, and boutique firms. And hopefully after listening to this webinar or participating in it, you too. We have agile consultants, over 4,500. We access global thought leaders. We collaborate with our 27 specialist practices. We help you develop your career and find collegiality, and we build your business on our platform. We enable you to hunt in packs, assemble a team, market your IP, open a new hub, launch a new practice, and share in equity at hub and global levels. And that's just one of our pillars. We're also going to developing leading publications pillar in the consulting industry, what we call the iTunes of consulting. We're creating a curated app store of proven consulting methods, building a leading learning and development pillar, and also provided branded software solutions. So with that, what I wanted to do is just highlight the interview questions that we're going to go through this evening with my colleagues. And these are really around who are you and what are your consulting credentials? What is it about the ICG proposition that attracted you? And how has the ICG proposition helped you and your career? So with that, let me kick off, and I think we'll work left to right. And I'll ask Jerry Purcell to kick off with an introduction to himself and his consulting credentials. And then I'll jump in and follow up with the additional questions. So, Jerry, a very good morning to you in Toronto.
Yes, good morning. That's one of the aspects of a global practice is it's different time in a different part of the world. So a very good morning to everyone. I've been in the consulting world for 25 years or so. I'd like to think I had a real job before that. My focus has been on predominantly the financial services industry for the first half at least, but a much broader mandate of clients and industries since then. I focus on strategy execution, org design, operations management and the like, and I've spent a great deal of time actually in both the Boston Consulting Group and A.T. Kearney in global practices in those organizations.
And Jerry, what is it? What was it? Now you've been here with us for a few years. What was it about the ICG proposition that originally attracted you?
To use a sort of a very non-consulting word, I would say the model was very cool, thought-provoking, and intriguing to start off with. And I like new things, so that certainly was the first attraction. The global reach. The fact that, as I've discovered even more so, I guess, since I've joined, is the success is defined by me, and my ability to help build a global business, but to contribute in the way that aligns with the principles that I believe in, which I've helped to develop as part of the team. And I guess the core element that sort of excited me and continues to the most is the focus on thought leadership and the ability to both draw upon the very smart people around me. I always like to surround myself with people smarter than me, and to focus on both the usage and the ongoing development of that thought leadership and helping my clients to access that.
Excellent. And how has the ICG proposition helped you since you've joined ICG and helped to evolve your consulting career?
It's been a very positive experience. It's a lot of hard work, as is any sort of startup, but the outcomes have been very rewarding. We've had a great deal of success in the North American market, and as I continue to tell you, David, all the time, we're going to surpass you anytime now. So that's that's the plan. It's a startup environment, but it provides a lot of room for maneuvering and for leadership and autonomy, and sort of building out the model. That's something that I quite like. For me, it's the ability to collaborate, the ability to draw upon the sort of capabilities of others, for which we've done quite a bit of across borders, so to speak, to bring world-class capability to clients.
Thank you. And I think, from a personal point of view, I've personally worked with Jerry, I think perhaps on 5 or 6 projects now, which is quite extraordinary given that we hadn't met each other before ICG kicked off. So it's wonderful to create a global network of colleagues and now friends that I can team with. Let me just also mention for our audience that we have a little bit of selection bias in that each of the panel members you'll meet this evening are not only ex-consultants, but they're entrepreneurial ex-consultants. They want to build something. So when Jerry talked about ICG being hard work, I think that's because he's developing some sweat equity and equity around ICG. I think we also have literally hundreds of ex-consultants who are not working quite so hard, but are participating in ICG because they're getting involved in projects when they apply for a BAF. And of course, as those consultants then understand the real power of the platform, they then tend to get excited and interested and involved in the model. But it's totally opt-in. There's no one pointing a gun at you, Terry, Jerry, to encourage you to do that. It's because you see the upside. Are there any other points that you'd like to add?
I guess my last point is that the level of excitement comes from the fact that my goal is to make some North American millionaires, and to work with them to build out our exposure in the market here, but also to bring to bear some cool work, to borrow that term again, but also building some real strong relationships over a long period of time with clients that we can help to solve their business requirements.
Well, I think you're well on the way to achieving your goal. So congratulations, and it's great to have you on board, and thank you for participating in this webinar.
Thank you.
Great. We also benefit today from having Michael Roche join us. So Michael, a warm welcome to you. I'm not sure where you are in Europe at the moment, but please introduce yourself and let us know about your consulting credentials.
Sure, David. Good afternoon, everybody. It's Michael Roche today from sunny Zurich, Switzerland. And one of the advantages of living and working in Europe is that these types of calls tend to be at an extremely convenient time for me. Not early in the morning, not late at night. But so thanks for that. I started in advisory in 1993. And the starting point was KPMG, then Pricewaterhouse, then a career in law with the latest stint with Norton Rose. Then came out and built a consulting firm. We were operating for clients in about 25 countries, and came out of that at the end of 2015. In terms of my personal consulting expertise, three sectors: primarily services, second tech, third power. And in terms of the functional expertise, it's mostly around strategy, M&A, and partnerships, joint ventures, strategic alliances, that type of thing. At heart, I'm a partnerships expert, and I've done that for the last 20 years. That's, in a nutshell, who I am, David.
Great. Well, it's absolutely tremendous that you have chosen to join us and to have someone of your capability and reach and multilingual capability driving our European business. So a warm welcome. What was it about the ICG proposition when you first encountered us that attracted you to ICG?
Yeah, David, look, it was a couple of different things. First off, it was exposure to different people. One of the things that I was really impressed with was that all of the global shareholders had serious big C consulting backgrounds. And as you can appreciate, having built my own firm for 10 years or so, we had some of those folks, but we also had a lot of folks who were not at that caliber. So one was the caliber of people. The second thing is, it's bloody hard to build a brand more or less on your own. And I guess this is reaching out to all of the people on this call who are boutique owners. Your boutique, for the most part, it's going to be you and your name. And the question is, how do you get that boutique to live beyond your name, right? And I had that conversation just with two people yesterday. And one of the things that I think at ICG that attracted me is to say, look, yes, there is a degree of an international brand, fine, but there is a whole bunch of other people who are trying to achieve very similar things, and that was very attractive. The other thing that was attractive was to be part of a community. I came out of a firm where we had I built the culture. And then to sort of be on your own for just 6 months, I think, when I then met you, David, being on your own is just no fun at all. It just isn't. And one of the things that we're doing at ICG is we do band together to do stuff together, and that's not just formally. As you know, I lead a couple of different things. One of which is a sector community. That's very cool because people who've got an interest in a sector, they get together and they do stuff. And the platform allows us to do that. And I guess the other aspect which was interesting was that it's a hybrid model, right? It's not just a labor platform. It's not just IP, as you've outlined your 5 pillars, right? It's a hybrid model, and that allows us to flex to different needs at different times. And as a disruptor to the industry, you've got to be able to do that. And I think the folks that we're trying to disrupt aren't able to be quite that nimble, and that combination was quite cool. So that's, I think, in a nutshell, that's why I initially joined ICG.
Well, it's great to hear the CVP read or spoken back to me. It sounds quite compelling. How has this proposition helped you since you joined ICG? I just for the benefit of the audience, I think Jerry's been with us about 3 years. I think Michael just over a year, and Mike Trovato has joined us just recently. So I think there's a nice sort of linear progression here in terms of consistency of attractiveness, but also our consistent attracting of high caliber people. So, Michael, how have you exploited the platform so far?
Well, look, I'll give you 3 very concrete examples. The first one actually involves one of the individuals on this call, Jerry. We've, without much effort at all, by putting together some relationships, we're able to, I think, open the door at a couple of different clients in Jerry's bailiwick. And some reality is, in the old days, when I was running my firm, I would have had to have a very heavy hand in making sure that those clients actually land from initial contact. Here, that was not the case. So Jerry and Matt, they basically took it, and we're, I think, now working on a $100,000 strategy project. Fantastic, and there's going to be more of that. That's one. Number two is simple resourcing. I had at my very first quote unquote bath was out in Hong Kong, where an existing international business was looking for a very small project, some client interviews or something really quite small. And we could offer them some really nice resource very quickly, and that worked quite well. Client didn't choose us, but they loved what we had to offer. And the third one, probably not least, is that when you come out of a Big Four, or even when you come out of a boutique that is well known, like I did, you're used to certain price points, and then you keep that price point for about a year or for about 2 years. Then all of a sudden you're in that big bucket of solos where you're working for 20% or 30% of the hourly rates or the daily rates or the fixed points that you were used to getting. And I'm unashamedly using just the fact that we're an international business to boost the price point. So one of our projects in London, we're clicking that at a partner rate of 450 sterling per hour, not per day. And if you were in that as a solo, you'd be running at 500 a day. So it's not at Big Four level, but it's I use ICG proactively in order to push different price points. And yes, it takes some guts to do that, but I think anybody on this call is able to do that also if they use it in the right way. So those are the three things where ICG, I think, has specifically helped me: on resourcing, on just being able to just entrust people with things, and thirdly, on just pushing the price point. We gotta up the price point, not lower it.
Well, that's a tremendous summary, and I'm delighted to hear that the brand and the global footprint is providing that leverage for you already in the European market. So are there any other points that we haven't covered yet that you'd like to share with the audience?
Look, yeah, there is one thing. There's two ways in which you can use a platform like ICG, right? One is that you use ICG as one platform of many to say, look, I play on 5 different platforms, and I might get work from place 1, place 2, place 3. That's one way, and that's a legitimate way. And we love people who just come on board and say, look, I've got this expertise, how can I plug myself in? That's great. The other way in which you can use the platform is you can use the platform to build something. If you're saying, look, I've got this business with a couple of partners or whatever it is. We want to really do something more international. We want to do it with different clients or whichever. This is a very good way. If you get involved in the right way, I think this is one very good place in which to do that. So those would be my 2 additional points, David.
Great. Well, thank you. And I'm particularly satisfied by how much empowerment the platform is giving to even our most junior consultants, and to see young people really embrace the sort of franchise level support that the platform provides them, so they can lift themselves beyond their career tenure. It's really exciting and very satisfying to watch. So thanks for highlighting that. So our third panelist tonight is Michael Trovato, and as you heard, Mike is relatively new to ICG, and so I think provides the freshest perspective on ICG. And Mike, a warm welcome to you. I think you're in my part of the world. I'm in Auckland, so it's 11:30 p.m. now. Mike, you're in Melbourne, I guess. So good evening to you.
Hi, David. Can you hear me?
Yeah, very well. A warm welcome, and perhaps you could introduce yourself to everybody and outline your consulting credentials.
Yeah, and although I'm in Melbourne and I talk a little bit like a Melburnian, obviously from my accent you can tell I'm an American abroad. I spent most of my career actually in New York. I've done most of the work in the financial services industry, although I have worked in a range of other critical infrastructure industries. I'm the global cybersecurity leader. I most recently, I guess, joined the practice, what was it, about 8 weeks ago, formally as a global leader. I did that after wrapping up at EY, leading the development of their cybersecurity practice in Melbourne, Oceania, and Asia Pacific. the past 10 years, where we built probably the largest, most successful practice of the Big Four in this region. So I was looking for, I guess the next great challenge. And as I was out in the market, trying to identify opportunities on my own, starting my own firm about 9 months ago, I ran across the Melbourne hub leader, David Cartwright, who introduced me to ICG. And the more I got to, understand the model, the more excited I became about it. And I guess the rest is history. So I'm really looking forward to building out the practice and doing this global role. I think I'm going to actually meet Jerry face-to-face in about a week in Toronto. So it's probably, I guess, the first city on my global tour.
Well, it's great to hear. And when David Cartwright was explaining the model to you, what was it about that proposition that was most attractive?
Look, there are a couple of things. After wrapping up at EY, one of the things that I missed quite a bit working with colleagues and the collegiality in the practice and being able to do bigger things. And as I was talking to clients and introducing my own firm, one of the things I realized as I talked about an unbundled consulting service that that was going to be a difficult thing to achieve. And ICG's already built out that model, and so it's a much more compelling value proposition for clients, and it certainly is from a people point of view a much more exciting and fun thing to do, to work with other people. So I also was introduced into the client space by David and saw that ICG had actually done this range of assignments in some of the key clients that I was most interested in. So there was a bit of an overlap and opportunity to team and work together to do bigger things. I also had decided, as part of what I wanted to do next, to spend some time in the innovation space. What that actually meant in terms of cybersecurity was, for me at least, was focusing on new companies and solutions out of Israel, because I had built a set of relationships there over the past 8 or 9 years. And I was quite focused on innovation and new models. And ICG is a new model. And the more I looked at it, and the more I thought about the model and compared it to what I knew working at KPMG and EY as a partner, it was a very interesting and compelling model for a whole variety of reasons. So I was actually really attracted to the newness, as I think Jerry said, the coolness of the model. And I thought that it's actually quite a well-designed, quite a well-executed model. So it just looked like the future, and I said, this is absolutely a place that I wanted to be.
Well, it's great to be creating the future with you in our favorite profession, consulting. And so, hopefully some of these words are really ringing true for a large number of our audience. So even though you've only been in ICG a very short time, has the proposition helped you in any way in terms of furthering, what's already been quite a remarkable career as a consultant?
Yeah, absolutely. And if I go back to the idea of collaboration, in the cybersecurity space, there's a lot of discussion around the need for collaboration. We're truly outgunned, by cyber criminals. And the only way that we're going to actually do this is if we work together and collaborate. And that's not just from a technical perspective, but it's across the entire ecosystem, across the entire business. One of the things that I've learned over the years is that the only way to deliver sustainable solutions into a client space is to actually engage the whole business. And what does that mean? Of course, that means bringing a range of skills, industry skills, functional skills, and so forth to bear to actually embed solutions. So there was a dimension of this model that was quite good. And as an example, just signed actually, I guess, my first ICG engagement and a new ICG client this week. And although I've been pursuing the client for a few months prior to joining ICG, when it came time to actually identify an opportunity and propose on it, the client basically asked me, did I want to, proceed under my own brand or ICG? And I said, well, actually, it's sort of up to you. I don't have that much energy around it. Do you have a preference? And the client basically said, well, yes, I do very much. One was the global dimension of ICG, and then secondly, because they're a global company, and secondly, because of the skill set that he was already aware of that we had within the Melbourne hub, and actually the desire to get, specifically the David Cartwright, to join us for some opportunities in the operational space. And he's a very senior former COO of one of the major banks here, for the folks that don't know him. So, that was absolutely something that the client was interested in. He wanted me to do my service, but he also wanted to bring the rest of ICG into the client, because he realized that, he can't get his agenda accomplished unless some of these bigger issues are solved as well. So, that was a very, very positive experience.
And a great demonstration of what the model is capable of, even domestically. And as you suggested, ICG is increasingly getting exposure to clients that also have a global footprint and are seeking global solutions to their problems. So my suspicion is increasingly we'll be creating global teams to support global clients. So thanks for opening the door at another global client. Are there any other points that you'd like to share with the audience this evening?
Absolutely. I just recently issued a BAF to try to identify professionals in the practice that would be interested in participating in the cybersecurity area. And they don't necessarily have to be, again, technical cybersecurity people. That could be in related fields of forensics, risk, other areas where there's a close, collaboration or teaming with respect to doing those kinds of assignments. And so anyone, on this call, after the call, please get in contact with me, because we actually want to, further build out that space.
Well, that's great, and I'd like to add something as well, and that's that since Mike joined ICG, I've been able to extend my proposition to clients. In fact, I introduced Mike to a couple of my clients in Sydney, and I had the wonderful experience of listening to Mike totally impress and convince a CEO and a significant team in a room on a first meeting of his credentials, and therefore ICG's ability to help that client CEO. And the meeting, after less than an hour, ended in a request for a proposal from Mike and ICG to assist that client. And just today, I had another CEO contact me for some work, and I simply wouldn't have been able to prosecute the work by myself. But through Mike and his growing practice, we found the ideal resource to meet this other CEO's quite significant need for assurance work and forensics. So I couldn't be more excited about Mike joining ICG, and also the impact he's creating for himself and myself. And I think that's in essence what the model's designed to achieve. So thanks for helping to demonstrate that so fully, Mike.
All right, thanks, David.
So I think we've heard from a great sort of cross-section of ICG's more senior branded consultants, and what I'm going to do now is invite our many participants around the globe to fire off any questions they have to the panelists or myself. And whilst you're composing your questions, I might spend a minute or two just sharing some other perspectives that I have, not only as one of the early participants in ICG, but also just as a practicing consultant, just like you. And that's that. I enjoyed as a partner and then senior partner at a couple of the traditional branded firms, what's traditionally called leverage. That I could go into a client and I could drag in a job manager or another partner, typically a more junior one, to help me with proposal writing and perspective development and then execution of the assignment. And I'd sort of flitter from client to client, hoping that this team would be able to back me up on execution. What the reality of that model, though, was that the majority of the people that I was working with were not fit for purpose. They were 1, 2, or sometimes more than 3 years away from being fit for purpose. So, we're doing advanced strategy or advanced pricing or any type of sophisticated consulting work. And of course, because the teams at consulting firms are relatively junior, relatively inexperienced, these people, were very hardworking and very committed and very professional, but they needed quite a lot of guidance and support to actually do the job that they were being paid for. Now, of course, one of my other ICG colleagues used to tell me when I worked with him at a branded firm that consultants should pay the partners for the right to learn so quickly and in such an intense and valuable fashion when they're juniors at a consulting firm. And of course, the flip side of that is, as a senior consultant, you're the one up late at night reviewing decks needing refinement and polishing. And it'll probably be 1 in 5 projects where you could go to bed early because the team were the A team and were doing a great job. The one most important thing that I've found since participating in ICG is that I'm able to get the perfect amount of leverage. When I create a team, when I run BAFs, the people who win those BAFs, and I or you will help pick them if it's your BAF, those people have the experience. They're actually fit for purpose. They don't need hand-holding by me. They might need some structuring and guidance work through the proposal development, and then they're typically pretty much stand alone, and I can be the relationship manager and occasional quality assurer if the client wants it. But as you heard earlier this evening, increasingly I'm selling work to clients and contacts which are outside my own professional domain. And so, it's rather silly for me to pretend that I have expertise in that area. So I really leave it to the other team that's been assembled through ICG. So for me, that's, one of the quite extraordinary benefits of ICG that finally, in the sort of middle stages of my career as a consultant, I'm getting the leverage that I, wanted much earlier. So what I'd like to do now is just start responding to some of the questions that are coming through. So what I might do is unmute each of my colleagues and get them to help me answer some of the questions. So the first question, and thank you for asking it, relates to what's the process for joining ICG? Well, it's very simple. You're already professionals registered on the platform, otherwise you wouldn't be on this webinar. ICG then has a couple of career paths, one around being a consulting professional and one around being an owner of the firm. And you can participate in one or both of those. Typically, consultants will seek to become an accredited professional. And they'll either do that by becoming a member and then seeking accreditation through the local hub team and potentially a global practice leader who will review your CV, do some background checks, talk to some references, and make sure that you're made of the right stuff. The alternative is to win a BAF, and winning a BAF is incredibly gladiatorial. Our typical BAF will receive anywhere between 5 and 15 applicants, all of fit for purposeness, and then we get to pick the cream of the crop for our client, or in fact, you get to pick them for your client. So it's a luxurious place to be relative to picking, what's left on a relatively small employed consulting bench. And so that's how you become accredited. And once you're accredited, you can then start to execute work. But as you've heard from my colleagues, if you're feeling you're wanting to be empowered by the model, then you can start selling work. Then you can start getting involved in building franchise or building IP and monetizing it through the platform. So let me hand over to my colleagues just perhaps further elaborate my answer to that question. Jerry, do you want to add anything based on your experience with people joining the Toronto Hub?
So I think the most successful consultants in the model are those who are proactive, who bring thinking to the table, who reach out to collaborate with people both locally and globally that are of the same mind or share interests, through one of our communities of interest or practice areas. And I think that that there's lots of room still for individuals who want to contribute in that kind of fashion. And a great deal of potential value that could accrue both to the consultant and their practice, but also to ICG. So we're very much open to the prospect of building out more capability and engaging more people in the model.
Great. Well, the next question is, what level do I need to be to join ICG as a practice leader? Let me start to answer that question and then perhaps hand over to Michael Roche to provide some additional perspectives. So joining ICG as a practice leader requires that you can demonstrate that you've built a business beyond yourself, because being a practice leader is about creating leverage. It's about generating demand which exceeds your own capacity to meet that demand. And so we typically look to people becoming practice leaders who've already built a successful boutique, either just themselves and a virtual team, or themselves and an employed team, or they've been a practice leader or a very senior job manager at one of the branded firms. So if you think you've got what it takes to become a practice leader at ICG, let us know. Contact your local hub. But Michael Roche, Michael, do you want to add to that?
Not much, no. I think you've got two options, right? One is you'll say, look, I've got a piece of expertise that I would like to see how I can leverage that and bring other people to do that and take that expertise onto the platform. You can do that at a local or regional level. I suppose you can also do that on a global level, like what Mike Trovato is trying to do with cybersecurity, and I'm sure that Mike will be very successful at that. That requires a bit more energy, as you know. I mean, this is like building your own business on a global basis with with a very entrepreneurial approach, with a bit of brand behind you. But in the end, it is going to be down to you, right? And the people that you can motivate to make that happen. What we sometimes see is that folks say, "Oh, I've got an expertise in X," and then basically what they're looking to do is basically fill their plates, and then then they sort of disappear. That's not what we want to see when it comes to quote unquote practice leadership. As David has said, what I'm particularly in Europe looking for is basically niche offers that are reasonably 21st century and that are interesting to clients. Everybody does strategy. For example, everybody does strategy in sort of their own sort of unique, sort of stylish little way. That to me, isn't quite good enough anymore. It really wants to be something that preferably has some tech around it, either on the diagnostic side or on the delivery side, but where we can sort of undermine, in a positive way, underbuild, improve the 21st century nature of the platform, but also in the services that we offer. I hope that makes sense, David. But I think that's important when we're looking to see what types of quote unquote practices do we build and give support to.
Oh, great. That's really helpful. We might try and answer one more question, so we keep this webinar at a reasonable length, and I might ask Mike to help me with the answer. So the question relates to a consultant joining us from Singapore. Do I only work in Singapore, or can I work globally through the ICG model? Well, the simple answer to that is you can work anywhere in the ICG model, both executing work and selling work. As you heard before, I've sold work in as far away as London, and I've also participated in work as far away as London. And so from my point of view, one of the great joys of ICG is that there's much less constraint around the business that you choose to build and the business that you choose to execute. Some clients will put constraints around who can be on their projects, typically driven by immigration and tax type issues. But as a consultant, there's nothing stopping me building a practice that's local, regional, or global, or in those countries where I happen to choose to live at different parts of the year if I had such a luxurious lifestyle. So you shouldn't feel constrained in any way around where you choose to work. And one of the things about ICG is that because we have a global footprint now, if you've recently moved from London to Singapore and you have a whole bunch of hot contacts in the London market that you want to monetize, well, now we've got Michael Roche and Les out of the London hub keen to work with you to help you monetize those relationships in a way that would be next to impossible by yourself. So with that, let me ask Mike to contribute his perspectives, because as you've heard, he's already planning some significant travel and overseas client work with his new practice.
Yeah, and I guess I'd offer two key thoughts. One, sort of extending the question around, what attracted me to the model was that in this current chapter of my career, I wanted to achieve a different type of work-life balance, and the key dimension there was to be able to spend a little bit more time, in particular in North America, because of family and friends there. And I've been in Australia now 13 years, and I was actually wanting to figure out a way to, sort of span the globe and do a little bit of travel and maybe do work in the United States from time to time. I got thinking about that. I was just actually at the point of reaching out to my attorney in New York to set up, reactivate an old LLC I had and open up bank accounts and, do all the stuff that's necessary to start up a business and all the compliance activities and get insurance and all these, really practical things that you have to do, to operate a business. And ICG came along. And I took a look at the model and I said, hang on, this is, basically turnkey for me. I can just become a member, and then I have, a capability to do the work really anywhere in the world that I want. So it was actually something that really helped satisfy a personal objective of mine. And I think it's, it's good that a model like this can support a diverse workforce. It may have a whole range of, personal priorities, and the model is flexible and actually can meet those needs. So you're really only, I guess, bound by your desires and your imagination to make the model work.
And your desire for particular travel destinations, by the sounds of things, as well. So
Yeah.
Congratulations! It sounds like a great way to spend your consulting career. So thanks for that answer, Mike. And I think our record is 12 people on one assignment, where we were billing in an offshore currency for the client, with a mixture of people from 4 different currency countries, and everyone was paid in their home currency and their home bank account via our global banking system, and paid like within a day of the monies being received by the client. So that's one of the most satisfying things that we've built, I think, in ICG, is a economic, totally transparent, legal economic framework that works for everybody. So look, there are other questions, but I think in the interest of keeping this at the right length, I'd like to really thank all of you for joining us this evening. For those of you who've participated after the event and have listened through this in your own time, and for our 3 panelists this evening, Jerry Purcell, Michael Grosch and Mike Trovato. My sincere thanks, and look forward to continuing to work with you and repeating this experience in due course. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, David.
Pleasure. And probably for the members who are, or the future members who are on this call, I'm sure that everybody on this call will be happy to take offline conversations if there's interest, probably by region. Jerry for North Am, me for Europe, maybe you, David, Mike for Asia Pac.
Yeah, and we also have about 30 other webinars. So once you become a member of ICG, you'll have access to our intranet and a lot more educational webinars like this one. So thank you very much, and look forward to speaking to you again soon.